range of foreign affairs matters. Can I firstly say, in answering this question, that I'm conscious we're meeting this evening and discussing this against the backdrop of huge fragility when it comes to the ceasefire, and I know it's something that I think we'll agree on all sides of this House, the importance of the ceasefire being maintained. This was long awaited. Quite frankly, it took far too long. Far too many civilian deaths encountered, far too many children died. There's been the most horrific situation, and we now need the ceasefire to hold. And I am rather alarmed and concerned at some of the language that I've heard in recent hours and in the last couple of days in relation to that situation. Everybody in the world needs to really put their shoulder to the wheel to make sure this ceasefire holds, the hostages are released, and humanitarian aid flows. So look, as you are very much aware, Deputy O'Leary, that the situation in Israel and Palestine is, of course, a major priority for government. I know it's a major priority for the Oireachtas and for people right across Ireland. And our engagement is guided by our long-standing and principled position, notably respect for international law, respect for the equal right to self-determination, peace, security and dignity for Israelis and Palestinians alike, and unwavering support for the two-state solution. I did set out the government's approach on this issue in a detailed statement during your private members' time in the Dáil last week on the 5th of February. And the immediate focus of government, and I hope the world, must continue to be the full implementation of the ceasefire and the hostage release deal. I welcome the release of hostages held in captivity by Hamas that has taken place to date, including the 3 hostages released at the weekend. All hostages must be returned to their families. We're at an absolutely critical moment for the ceasefire and the hostage release deal. A resumption of conflict in Gaza would be disastrous, and everything should be done to avert this. Our focus must also be on supporting a significant and meaningful surge in humanitarian aid into Gaza at this critical time. And you'll note the announcement I made in recent days in relation to the €20 million in funding for UNRWA to support its vital work. As the House and the Deputies are aware, in light of the July 2024 advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice and the subsequent advice which I sought from the Attorney General, the Government decided to review the Occupied Territories Bill, working with Senator Francis Black. The Government's analysis was, and was said very clearly, that substantive amendments would be required to most, if not all, of the Bill's provision to bring it in line with the Constitution and to try to reduce the risk of EU infringement procedures. Our programme for government sets out a commitment to progress legislation prohibiting goods from the occupied Palestinian territory. These considerations will remain central to work in this regard. In parallel, Ireland continues to press for action at the EU level in light of the ICJ advisory opinion, and discussions on the EU legal position remains ongoing in this regard. While this House will be aware that there are significant policy differences among EU member states, Ireland has been consistent in recalling that in its relations with the wider world, the EU is required by its founding treaty to contribute to, and I quote, the strict observance and the development of international law, including respect for the principles of the United Nations Charter. We're clearly at a very critical moment for the Middle East and for the prospects of the two-state solution. I'm determined to continue Ireland's leadership and effective engagement and to focus Ireland's efforts on the areas that have most impact at this time. My overarching priority is to contribute to a coordinated and consolidated effort by the international community as a whole to support the ceasefire, support the hostage release agreement and the surge of humanitarian access into Gaza that it makes possible, to safeguard the two-state solution, to work towards the return of the Palestinian Authority to Gaza in accordance with the UN Security Council Resolution 2735, and to uphold the equal right to self-determination, peace, security and dignity, as I've said, for Israelis and Palestinians alike. We will work in line with the programme for government commitment in relation to legislation in relation to the occupied territories. We'll work constructively with the opposition, and I look forward to sitting down with Senator Francis Black in the coming days on this matter.
Chuck O'Leary.
I share the Tánaiste's concern in relation to the ceasefire. I might say some more now. I have another question in relation.